Hey all, for those who are here a little early, just so you know, we are going to start in about 9 minutes. And the event is being live streamed to YouTube. So if you have any issues with the Zoom or you have to leave early, oh, sorry about that. I heard a little bit of an echo from myself on YouTube. That's why we start these things early to get everything sorted out. But yeah, we will be starting in a few minutes, and you can find the YouTube link if you have to leave early and need to watch later to get your volunteer time. So I'll see y'all in a few minutes. I know some people are joining by phone, so you can't see our graphic. We're going to get started in about 8 minutes. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes. Hang tight. All right, it looks like we are ready to start. Hello, everyone. I'm Caroline from the SciStarter team. I'm absolutely delighted to be with you today. We'll be monitoring the chat throughout, so if you have questions, comments, thoughts, don't be shy about putting them in that chat and making your voice heard. And this event, you get 2 hours of volunteer time. One of my goals is to wrap the presentation part a little early so you can get outside and contribute. I can't think of a better way to celebrate Earth Day. And this event is being recorded, so you can come back and watch later. Or like, let's say you have to leave early or anything like that. You can just watch the recording and follow along that way to get your full volunteer time. And another great part about this event is it's being live streamed to YouTube. So if you end up having issues with Zoom or anything like that, the YouTube recording, it's youtube.com/SciStarter. SciStarter/SciStarter, and you'll be able to get this recording and get everything you need. So yeah, I am so happy to celebrate Earth Day with you all. It's a wonderful way to be connected with nature today and just doing some real science. So I always like to start with this before I even explain what SciStarter is. Let's start with what citizen science is. So even if you don't know it, you probably really love science. If you like being outside, if you've ever looked at birds and butterflies, if you have ever pondered the brain and wish you understood it better, if you have ever looked up at the night sky and tried to find a constellation, then you're in good company. There are millions of people out there just like you who love the world around them and want to understand it better. And science, one thing I always like to make clear is like, even if you don't think science is for you, if you think about that test you failed in the 10th grade, or you think about memorization, you think it's really scary, science is definitely for you. Anyone can do science. Science is not a scary thing. It's a way of thinking. It's a means of discovering something new about the world. It's one of the coolest things we have. So anyone can do science. And the reason why is citizen science. So thousands of scientists need volunteers. One thing we say at SciStarter is, it's just a more complicated world out there than it's ever been. There's more data. There's more information than we've ever had. And we like to say at SciStarter that scientists don't have enough eyes, ears, and perspectives to know everything there is to know, to understand everything that needs to be understood, to answer every question that needs to be answered. That's where you come in. You can collaborate with these scientists to answer meaningful questions about the world. You can help them collect data by taking pictures or contributing your observations, or you can analyze data by looking at pictures and videos and saying like what you see in there and like doing a brief training and learning the protocols, learning the instructions to analyze it. You can partner with these scientists as volunteers, as citizen scientists, to accomplish so much more, to turn your curiosity about the world into real scientific impact and make a difference. And the reason SciStarter exists is sometimes these scientists who need your help can't find the global volunteer communities who are so passionate and willing to make a difference. So at SciStarter, we really act as this bridge. We connect you to real science you can do, and we connect researchers to volunteers who can move their projects forward and meaningfully contribute to the scientific enterprise. So we are that connector. We are that bridge. So what is citizen science? Ultimately, it's a collaboration between scientists and those of us who are curious, concerned, and motivated to make a difference. So it's how people can make an impact on the issues they care about and help science. And before we get into the specific details of the Verizon SciStarter collaboration, the projects that we're going to do together today, I have a brief video for you about what SciStarter is.
Citizen science can change the world. These programs mobilize people from all walks of life to contribute to scientific research, from teachers to artists, Girl Scouts to business professionals, students to retirees. Citizen science taps into the power of the people, where they are. Scientific data gathered by individuals and communities gives concerned or curious people, decision makers, and scientists access to more information than they could possibly gather on their own. Your contributions lead to breakthrough research, new approaches, and expedited scientific discoveries. So how can you start to make a difference? SciStarter makes it—
I'm seeing in the chat, there's no volume, but is everyone having that issue? Because I shared my screen with the video sound, so it should be working. Everyone else can hear it. Okay, great. If you can't hear it, I would just double check the sound on your computer. And it's also available on our YouTube channel. Awesome.
Easy to find the perfect project for you. With a database of more than 3,000 citizen science projects to choose from, you can search by topic, location, age level, and more. Anything that sparks your curiosity is a mere click away. SciStarter can help you take valuable actions to contribute to the projects you're most passionate about. Their tools database provides you with exactly what you need to get started. And with events held across the nation throughout the year, SciStarter brings fun citizen science opportunities directly to you. Visit the SciStarter website to begin exploring the possibilities of scientific participation and create a personal account to receive project suggestions tailored especially for you. Together with SciStarter, we can all play a part in scientific research that can change the world for the better.
So one reason I like to share that video, let's see. Okay, 1 second. Sometimes when I make it too big on a PowerPoint, there could be some issues. Okay. There we go. All right, perfect. So one reason I like to share that video is I think it does a good job of showing the breadth of SciStarter. The fact that there is a whole world out there, and it's not just, the 25 or so projects we've selected for Verizon. It's the projects that people from all over the world, the global volunteer community, have added for you to discover, for you to think about, for you to learn about. It's all very exciting to me that anyone can do science and anyone can make a difference. So just cool stuff there. Okay, great. So let's get our screen back up. And sometimes folks get confused, like with the Verizon program, because they'll go to the main website and they'll try to do, one of the thousands of projects that researchers from all over the world have added. And you can definitely do those. We're not stopping you. But in terms of what we give volunteer credit for, it's a select number of projects that we've especially highlighted for the Verizon SciStarter collaboration. So that's the main website, just so y'all are familiar with it. I wanted to kind of show this project first before we get into our more Earth Day projects, just to hammer home the diversity of citizen science, because it's everything from astronomy to biodiversity to health to zoology and everything in between. So this is a project that's really popular among Verizon volunteers called Stall Catchers, where you're able to watch videos of mouse brains and analyze them, mark the blood vessels in those mouse brains as stalled or flowing to help researchers who are trying to understand Alzheimer's disease. And this is a really popular project for Verizon. You can find it on the volunteer platform. Then you go over to SciStarter and participate. And one reason I wanted to highlight it is because it's been so popular that we actually featured the stories of some bee teamers who have participated on Discover Magazine's website and on the SciStarter blog. And I would love for the environmental projects we spotlight today to be as popular as among Verizon volunteers and have enough participation that we could, create a similar story. Cheryl Mulligan, she's a bee teamer. She lost a loved one to dementia. And that was one reason Stall Catchers was really empowering to her, because she was able to analyze this Alzheimer's research data to make a difference. And maybe some of you, I know I've lost family members in hurricanes. My family we lost our home in Hurricane Michael. So I do the IC Change project because I'm able to make a difference to monitor climate change. I know some of you probably have personal stories about how you've been impacted by environmental hazards, and maybe something similar to me. And if you're able to do that and share that story with us at SciStarter, we could do a similar spotlight and really celebrate the difference you're making, just like we did for Stall Catchers. So that's one reason I wanted to call that particular project out. And we'll skip the Stall Catchers video because I think we need to get to the Earth Day projects. Let's get some environment today. So all of these projects can be found in our Verizon community on the Verizon volunteer platform. So just the ones that we've spotlighted, the ones that we think that will particularly resonate with V-teamers. So we have the 2 projects we're thinking about today on here, and we have all of our other ongoing events too. So whenever you want to get volunteer credit for any of our projects, you can find them as an ongoing event via this community. I'm going to put the link in the chat in case you want to go ahead and join it. But I wanted to give a quick plug for that. So you can find, if you're interested in that Alzheimer's research project I just mentioned, you can find it via our community, via that link I just put in the chat. Okay, so now here's the first project we're going to do together today. It's one of my favorite citizen science projects of all time. And one reason why is it basically turns anybody and everybody into an environmental reporter. So your volunteer time's already covered for today because you RSVP'd for this webinar. So you don't have to monitor your time via the link you see at the top of my screen. It's just if you want to do this project again, because you can do it as often as you'd like to get volunteer time and to monitor weather and climate change, you would go to our community or you go directly to this particular ongoing event for report climate changes in your local environment. But it's the IC Change project. So if you want to follow along and kind of get ahead of the game as we review why this research matters for this particular project, you can go ahead and go to scistarter.org/Verizon. And the first step is making your SciStarter account with your Verizon email address. And by doing that, you really help us keep track of the number and frequency of your contributions. So we just really, really advise that you do that. And once you do that, you want to click on the IC Change icon on that page. So if you want to go ahead and follow along, get ahead of the game, you can start making your account as we go through why this project matters. So what is IC Change? IC Change is a global community of people just like you who are documenting the real life effects of climate change and contributing to solutions. So in other words, this project, I love it. It turns anybody and everybody into an environmental reporter. And it's global, so you can do it anywhere on Earth. You can do it in an urban area, you can do it in a rural area, you can do it in a suburban area, doesn't matter. And I also like it too because it really honors the lived experiences of people who, like all of us, who are seeing our weather have some funky patterns. Maybe you've noticed the temperature is really hot than really cold. Or maybe you've noticed that it's raining more than it usually does at this time of year. Or perhaps that the extreme heat in your community is having some negative health impacts for you. IC Change just wants you to tell your own story about what's happening in your community with climate change. And weather is the day-to-day stuff, how hot it is on a given day, how cold it is, how much it's raining, things like that. And then climate is the long-term trends. So by monitoring the weather, we're able to contribute to a global understanding of climate change. And the great thing about this project is it recognizes the fact that climate change is hyperlocal. So how I experience extreme heat may be different than my friends across town. So on my block, maybe I have fewer trees, and that means that it's actually demonstrably hotter on my block. And I might have more heat strokes, or, my neighbors and I might feel sicker. And maybe my friends across town have more trees on their block, which lowers the temperature and makes it easier for them to adapt to extreme heat. So that's just one example of the fact why it would be so important for us in that community to contribute to IC change, because by indicating, it's so hot, I'm having issues, going about my daily tasks, that would help the researchers at this project pick out trends in my community and understand what's going on. So we have a brief video. I'm gonna end show. This is the easiest way to do it. We'll control click to follow the link. I really like this video because it's the project leader of IC Change. I think she's really inspiring. Her name's Julia Kamari Drapkin, but I'll let her tell you a little bit about what makes IC Change special.
When it comes to eyeing the weather, the best expert isn't the guy on TV, and it's not radar or satellite, it's you. Weather impacts everyone and everything, so when it changes, we need to know how it's changing us and our communities. My name is Julia Kamari Drapkin, and I'm the founder of IC Change. IC Change empowers you to be a climate scientist in your community and investigate how weather and climate are impacting the environment and daily life where you live. Sign up on icchange.org. You can use a computer or our mobile apps. You can tell us a story or take pictures of what's changing. Think of it like an Earth selfie. Each sighting on IC Change is synced to NASA satellite data and broadcast to our community of scientists, journalists, and other community members to investigate the bigger picture trends. What animals and plants do you see in your backyard today? When it's too hot to play, what do you want to do instead? What do you or your neighbors do when there's not enough rain? Or what happens when there's too much? Are bugs out biting, and is it weird to see them at this time of year? Not sure what to observe? Take a look at the investigations that we have posted to get started. Or you can talk to your neighbors and report what they've seen change. Definitely be curious about what you're seeing. We'll connect your questions to scientists and report back what we hear. And don't forget, when you set up...
Yeah, so the great thing about IC Change, so they're a SciStarter affiliate project. Which means that we've partnered with them. So I hope you all have already gone to scistarter.org/Verizon and you started to make your SciStarter account. Then once you do that and you click on the IC Change icon on that page, it'll take you over to IC Change, and then you make an IC Change account with the same email address you used to sign up for SciStarter. And by doing that, the number and frequency of your contributions will track back to SciStarter. So we monitor your time on the Verizon volunteer platform, but we monitor the number and frequency of your contributions on the SciStarter side. So we're really grateful for this partnership with IC Change, so you can become an environmental reporter and help contribute. So how do you participate? So you make that account. So you make the account with the same email address you used to make your SciStarter account, and then you just post what you see. So here's an example on the screen from Miami Beach. In Miami, there tends to be a lot of flooding, and it started to happen on sunny days. There are these things called sunny day floods, where water might bubble up onto the sidewalk when it's not even raining. So the city of Miami, they've actually partnered with IC Change, where if enough people post observations of what's going on with flooding, and they give the lived impact on them, and they indicate where they've seen certain things, they're going to work on some infrastructure developments based on these observations. So definitely just post what you see in your community. Maybe you don't experience flooding as an environmental hazard. Maybe you grapple more with extreme heat. Or maybe, seasonal change has been off, or you've noticed that the plants are flowering later than they used to. Whatever you're seeing in your community, you can just indicate what it is, give your observation, describe the lived impact, post a picture if you want, but it could just be words, and get it up there. And that qualitative data, those words and pictures, is paired with sensor data. So things like inches of rainfall, the temperature that day, to give a complete picture of what's going on. So this post right here says, lots of sidewalks being flooded during the recent storm and tide. Saw a senior walking through the watery areas and worried he'll slip. That's a good post because it says, it shows what's happening to people in the community based on these environmental hazards. Another favorite part of IC Change for me is you can go through the feed and learn from other people. And if you get enough people in your local area, or we have enough Verizon volunteers post, It's almost like doing a census of what's going on in the environment, which I think is really cool. So icy change has already made a difference. People can post anywhere in the world. And even if you're the only person in your area who's posting, you can do your own self-study. I know for me, one thing I used to post about a lot is I would have these Chinese hibiscus flowers outside my window. And they were kind of confused about what season it was because the temperature was varying so much where I was in Florida. It seemed like they didn't really know what season they were in. So the leaves were yellow, but they were flowering, and they were just so confused. So I would post pictures of these flowers over time and monitor them. And you can do something similar just by picking one thing in your life and monitoring it over time. And you can get volunteer time from Verizon and from us at SciStarter every time you do that. But if you really get your community involved, then there can be a robust research result. For example, in Los Angeles, California, enough people posted about drought-stressed trees that led to a deep dive story about the future of urban trees in California. New Orleans is a huge icy change hub. Enough people have posted that the city has been able to partner with icy change to create new stormwater engineering plans. And the health department has been able to intervene to understand heat waves and help people because enough people have gave their perspective about the impact of heat waves on their health and explain the impact on them in their specific area. The icy change has been able to step in. But wherever you are globally, whatever you're seeing change, just post it. So what does icy change do? They connect people to their changing environments to create solutions together. And this is that post you saw earlier that I think it's just so good. It shows the lived impact. It has the hard data, but with the inches of rainfall from sensors, but it also has important qualitative data indicating the human experience here. So definitely post what you see in your community. This is just another example from Miami. I'm a Floridian, so I really love these examples, and I got them from the staff at icy Change, and they did such a great job. But I like this picture because I really want to emphasize like safety is key. So, don't stick around in a bad weather situation just to monitor it. Just post what you see when you're there, but please prioritize your safety and just post what you see in your community. But here's an example from Claudia. She was able to monitor the impact of extreme rainfall after a hurricane in her community and show how it was impacting infrastructure, the roads and the things that people use. And I really like highlighting this post. I think this is a particularly good post because one tip I have for icy change is something that the researchers can't really get from the pure quantitative data is what is new, because you're the expert in your own backyard. You have your own lived experience in the community you're in. So if it's the first time you've seen something, that context is really valuable. And that's why this is a particularly good post. Kate was able to say, but the first time that I've seen, water was lapping at the doors. So she was able to say, this is worse than it's been before, and this is impacting the infrastructure in a way that's new. That's a really, really key and pivotal finding. And here's another example, people seeing the same things and reporting the same things. That's really useful. It helps establish trends and patterns. So this is water on the sidewalk. They snap a picture, indicate where it is, post it to icy change. And we got some more people in the storms and flooding investigations posting Miami. And you can also let your personality shine in this too. You see there's a little bit of dark humor here. Where our streets used to be, bring your own gondola. It's okay to be a human being and let your personality shine in these posts. And if enough people post, you can see here they're able to identify hotspots and show trends and contribute to a research-driven result. But the main first step for you all is just to think about what you're seeing in your community, what climate hazards you're grappling with. Are you grappling with extreme heat? Are you grappling with flooding? Are you grappling with seasonal change? And whatever it is, just post it. Are you grappling with drought, for example? Is there no rain when you would expect there to be rain? And if it's also normal weather, you can post that too. In a second, I'm going to show you all a post I did earlier this morning where I was like, it's a normal, the temperature is normal, the flowers are normal for what I would expect to see in Florida at this time of year. And it's okay to establish a baseline as well. Just describe what you're seeing. And icy change is very good about emphasizing that you're the expert in your backyard. And even if you haven't lived for somewhere very long and you don't really know what's normal or not, just describe what you see. That's a great post too. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I'm going to see if anyone has any questions in the chat so far. Someone says, I have flooding in the wetlands behind me. That's a great post to post on I See Change. You can say, you know, generally I see flooding in the wetlands around me. You can just say that. That's okay. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. We'll end the show for a second. I'm just going to show you all kind of the flow for how to participate. So I'm going to go to SciStarter. Let me type it in, scistarter.org/Verizon. I already have a SciStarter account, but if I didn't, this is where I'd make my SciStarter account. And I'm going to click on the I See Change tab. And remember, this is a different flow than usual, because typically, you know, you would start on the portal. You know, you might be in the SciStarter community and you'd find the I See Change event here, and you'd say the amount of time that you plan to volunteer. But today, your volunteer time is already covered by this webinar, so no need for that. But if you ever want to do it again, just go to our community and find the event. I'm going to click Participate Web. It'll take me to I See Change. I See Change is an app and a website. And I'm already logged into I See Change, but if I wasn't, this is where I'd make another account with the same email address I used to make my SciStarter account. And I'm going to show you all the citing I did earlier today. So I took this picture yesterday in Gainesville, Florida. I did it because I wanted to indicate some seasonal change. And I said, it has been a lovely springtime in Florida. The weather has been a little chilly, but seems normal for this time of year overall. And I have loved seeing the flowers bloom in Gainesville, Florida. So I gave a little bit of the lived impact on me. I explained what I'm seeing. I took a picture. I said where it was. And my qualitative observation, my words and pictures, is paired with some quantitative data. I see someone has a question in the chat. Let's see. Is there a document with the steps? Yeah, that's one reason we created this page on SciStarter. So you can, if you ever get confused, you're able to read through the steps and then click participate and go over and participate. It's as easy as that. And all of the, I sent the links all to Verizon to be whitelisted, but if they've added like a new firewall, I know some people have had some success like logging things on their personal devices, for example, but blocked to social networking. Yeah, it is a research project, so it shouldn't be blocked. And we did send it to them to whitelist a while back. So if you're having issues, I know some folks have used their personal device to log it, and that has tended to work. But I'll check back in with Verizon, let them know that some people are seeing it blocked. So I'm going to pause here and give you all a chance to contribute. Just describe what you're seeing today. And the great thing about I See Change too, another great thing, is they have a feed where I can monitor sightings. So I would love to see some of your posts start to pop up on this feed. All right, and yeah, so you all, I put the link in the chat, you know, scistarter.org/Verizon. You can make your SciStarter account, and then you go through, you click on I See Change, you can read the instructions if you like, and then you go off to I See Change, you make your I See Change account, and then you post a sighting. You just describe what you're seeing in your community. Yeah, and for folks who are blocked, I'm really sorry about that. We did send the link to Verizon to whitelist. Every once in a while, they add new firewalls. And you can add sightings when you're traveling too. You can just describe what you're seeing. Or you could interview the people around you in a new area and say, is this weather normal for this time of year? Or have you noticed anything change over time? And I really love their different investigations because it's some good prompts about like different things that you can see. So I See Change is really good about like partnering with different cities, but you can post from anywhere on earth, even when you're traveling. Yeah, so you just go, and typically, you know, you do start from the ongoing event on Verizon to log your time, but your volunteer time is covered through today's webinar. So that's not part of today's flow. You can just go straight to scistarter.org/Verizon, click on the I See Change icon, make sure you have your SciStarter account, click Participate Web, go over to I See Change, add a sighting, and say what you see change. So I'm going to see if any of you have posted so far. I'll refresh. Get your post in. Tell me what you're seeing change. looks like the last post from today is from Melody. She said, usually more doves and robins this time of year. Some are back, but my fears are staying full longer. Our neighborhood roadrunner is back. So she is giving some context on like what's going on with species in her area, which is super cool. And this is Donald. I actually know for a fact that Donald's a Verizon volunteer. He said, first full day of sunshine after a week of cloudy, chilly weather. That's a great post. He's able to just describe what's going on. Let's see. I know this person's a Verizon volunteer. Is it about 60 degrees at 9 a.m., bright sunny day and almost no clouds? Great. They're just describing what they see. Michelle's a Verizon volunteer too, I believe. She said, close to the coast, the budding leaves are already green and flowering. Weather feels nice today after a chilly start to the week. That's a great post, just giving some context based on her observations. Someone said, got one up. Not very exciting. That's okay. I'm excited about it. Let's see what Isabella posted. Isabella said, a tree facing our apartment has very few buds on the side that is south facing. The side north facing has more. It's a usual spring here. Great. You're giving context about what is usual. And the nice thing about IC Change too is even though they know your exact location and they might use it for research purposes, they protect your privacy because they know that, you know, different people have different needs with privacy. So they're not going to tell people, hey, here's the coordinates of this person's apartment, which is good. Someone said pretty standard spring day. That's good. We're seeing some normal stuff. And, you know, you see how they're trying to get the human context here. They want to understand how it's impacted your lived activity. And for those of you who don't want to post quite yet, after we get through our second project today, I'm going to give you all the extra time to go outside and start observing. So that's just something to note. You'll have time to make additional observations if you have any issues. So I'll just refresh one more time to see if anyone is posting. Does anyone else have any questions or any other observations about IC Change that you want to share in the chat for me to read out for everyone? I'll pause there and see if anybody has any additional questions. Do I have to use my Verizon email address? That's ideal. People have used their personals, but it tends to make my life more complicated if I have to get in touch with you. So we ask that you use your Verizon email to sign up on SciStarter and the same email address to sign up on IC Change. So that really helps us with tracking. While people think of their questions, another cool thing about IC Change is when enough people post, IC Change is able to post some trends. So for example, here are some things that they saw on the platform in 2021. Oh, Robin's awesome. I've worked with her. She's an amazing citizen scientist in the Seattle area. She said record-breaking temps in the Seattle area. I'm on the northwest side of Puget Sound where temps are in the mid-90s. I will need to water my garden this evening. So she's describing what she sees and the lived impact on her. So IC Change was able to capture some mild temperatures to record-breaking cold. Plants and allergies emerged earlier in the spring. These are all trends from the global volunteer community last year. Drought was in the western US. Summer was hot early and often. A milder but still devastating hurricane season. And that's the great thing about IC Change because they're also contributing to solutions. Like people are documenting king tides that result in flooding, but IC Change shares that data with local governments so they're able to do something about it, make the infrastructure more resilient. And they solicit solutions ideas from the community. So if you have an idea about, you know, something weird going on in your community and like ways to make it better, post it on IC Change. I know in Massachusetts, especially, they've really crowdsourced improvement ideas from IC Changers. You can just use IC Change as a tool to make your voice heard. Someone said, you can post if you're traveling. You would just describe what you see, or you could interview local people and see if like they've noticed like anything weird. IC Change is great for turning anybody and everybody into an environmental reporter. And you can post as often as you'd like. Whenever you have a new observation, you can post it. You can post multiple times a day, even if you have multiple different things that are impacting you. So posts are grouped together for general trends. IC Change has a number of different investigations. So for example, The city of Miami, they have a specific flooding investigation in partnership with the city. In New Orleans, they have a specific partnership with their local government about monitoring heat and improving public health in relation to heat. In Boston, they've also done projects related to heat and flooding. But just generally, they're able to source global trends when members of people anywhere post what's happening in their community and what they're seeing change. Awesome. So I'm going to go to our other project now, unless anybody has additional questions about IC change. Great, great, great. All right. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. Yeah, IC Change is a cool project, and we're going to give you all ample time at the end to get your observations in if you didn't feel comfortable posting just now. So the other project we're spotlighting today in honor of Earth Day is the iNaturalist project. The name of their ongoing event on Verizon is called Learn to Identify Plants and Animals for Science. You aren't logging your time through this event today because your time's already covered by the webinar. But this is a cool project because it allows anybody and everybody to study global biodiversity and species distribution. So there's actually a video. I'm going to quickly play it for you about how to make an iNaturalist. It's an app and a website. I recommend using the app portion. Oops, it looks like my computer is overheating a little bit. All right, let's stop sharing 1 second. And then we'll get you to iNaturalist. One second, everybody. Having some issues here. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. Thanks for your patience, everybody, as we do this event together. I'm having a lot of fun. I hope you are too. Okay. Let's give it 1 sec. Yes, indeed, they do. And sometimes computers just overheat when you're trying to push them too hard. We'll skip the video for now. So I'm just going to stop sharing just to give my computer a second to breathe. But this is a project where they really want people to monitor global species distributions. They want to understand what is going on in the world. Okay. So I'll restart this PowerPoint.
Recording in progress.
I'm restarting my computer in 1 sec. So just take a few minutes to maybe take a quick glass of water, a breather, and then we'll get iNaturalist right back up. Thank you for your patience. But yeah, we're taking a quick 5-minute break. So just hang tight and we will get everything restarted. All right, I hope everybody enjoyed their break. We are back. I'm going to get the screen share right back up. So thank you so much for sticking with me. And actually, it kind of worked out that our text issues were right in between projects because it gave you a little bit of a break. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we'll go right back to iNaturalist. So that's our other project for today. And as I mentioned, generally you find it through our community on SciStarter, and you log your time through, the Verizon volunteering platform, but your time's already covered with today's webinar, so you don't have to worry about that. So the basic premise of iNaturalist, it's another global project. I chose it with IC Change because I think they complement each other well. I think the cool thing about these two projects kind of in conversation with each other is they're going to allow you to monitor the weather and the climate while at the same time monitoring the animals and the plants that are impacted by the weather and the climate. So you can observe any living thing on Earth by Naturalist. They ask you to focus on uncultivated nature, so things that weren't planted by humans. So it wouldn't be roses in your garden that you planted yourself. You'd be monitoring wildflowers instead. And it wouldn't be your dog or your cat. You'd be taking a picture of a bug you found in your apartment, or a bird that was in the tree outside your home. iNaturalist wants you to just observe different species and identify it the best you can. You can identify it at kingdom level if you have to. You could just say this is a plant if you really don't know what it is, but they want you to give it your best guess. And then the global volunteer community comes in and confirms your identification. And if enough people identify it, then it becomes research grade. So research grade means that it can be used to monitor global distributions of populations. And that can be a serious business. Sometimes research grade projects, there have been species that are like rediscovered. I remember there's a salamander in Washington, D.C. in 2020 that a 13-year-old, who had downloaded the iNaturalist app, they were able to monitor the salamander. The salamander hadn't been spotted, that particular species hadn't been spotted in Washington, D.C. for over 60 years. So that was a really key finding. There was this rare type of Colombian weasel. It actually went viral because it snuck into this man's house, and it was sitting on his toilet, believe it or not, a weasel sitting on the toilet. He took a picture of it and posted it to iNaturalist, and the toilet weasel made everyone laugh a lot, but it was also a really important scientific finding
because this particular type of weasel had never been photographed alive. Researchers weren't even sure if it was, still a species, that they thought it might be extinct. So that was a really, really key research finding. And you never know what you're going to see. I mean, it's any type of biodiversity. It could be, weeds in urban areas. It could be trees that you see in rural areas. It could be, types of uncultivated grass you see in suburban areas. Whatever species you see, iNaturalist wants you to observe it. Some key parts of iNaturalist, you can use a smartphone. But you can also use a camera if you don't have a smartphone, or you could just describe what you're seeing in text if you don't have the ability to take pictures. But you say, you have who you are, so you have your own account. You say what you saw, you say when you saw it, and you say where you saw it. So it's similar to IC Change in that you're, collecting data by, taking pictures and describing them. So here's an example. Mary is actually a really awesome citizen scientist, and she's based in the Washington, D.C. area. And this is her observation in an urban area of a red dead nettle. So this is uncultivated nature. Someone is not growing this in their garden, but it is appearing in this urban area. And she's able to observe it and help contribute to the understanding of the global research, research-based knowledge of the species distribution. And this project's important because, we also can get at some climate change trends here, right? Like if ranges are decreasing for certain types of plants, that may be related to a change in climate. And different researchers take the iNaturalist data and do different things with it. My favorite sub-project on iNaturalist is called Never Home Alone. He's the guy who runs it. His name's Rob Dunn. He's a researcher out of North Carolina State University, and he's trying to understand indoor biodiversity. He's trying to understand the bugs that live inside people's homes, which is actually really understudied. So any observation that you post of a bug inside a house, that gets added to his investigation, and he's able to get a global understanding of indoor biodiversity and how it might change in different places. And there are lots of additional resources on iNaturalist, I think is really nice. So if you have little ones, iNaturalist is a really fun project to do with kids, but it's also a great project to do by yourself. And for the kiddos, there are additional apps where it's easy to explore existing observations. And it's also easy to get some help identifying them from the global research community. So that's the red dead nettle that we saw that Mary posted. And it was identified by some other volunteers on the platform who are really good at identifying plants. As you can see, Mary has a ton of observations. She's taken over 13,000 different observations of nature in her community for iNaturalist. And you don't have to do it at home. You can do it anywhere in the world, just like IC Change. Anywhere you are, you can observe. I'm seeing some action in the chat. Someone said, do we have the ability to update our email address in our profile afterwards? Yes, you can definitely add it to your SciStarter dashboard. You can add a secondary email address. People are still posting about IC Change, which is great. Oh, I love that people love the toilet weasel as much as I do. And people are still thinking about weather and climate. Yeah, I'm so glad that you're sharing, Holly, about what's going on in Texas. That's really important. And that's another thing about IC Change too. I think it builds empathy. So we're able to see other people's posts and what they're going through. And I think if you all post right now, I'm pretty confident that pretty much all the posts in the feed are going to be from Verizon volunteers. So you're going to be able to learn about your fellow V-teamers just by scrolling the feed this afternoon, which is really, really great. And for iNaturalist as well, it also is an educational tool because you can explore other people's observations. If we get to the point where you all are able to download the app and start observing, or you go to the website and start observing, you could start posting links in the chat and we can all look at each other's observations, which I think is pretty cool. And iNaturalist is super global. People are posting, this is the range of that red dead nettle that we just saw, but people are posting species all around the world. And I know that I've seen a lot of wildflowers in Florida recently. So let's say I observe a particular type of wildflower, I post it to iNaturalist, I can click on that species, and then I can see all the other places that people have posted it, which is really, really cool. One other way I've used iNaturalist is when I lived in Florida, when I lived in Indian Harbor Beach, Florida, I lived on the canal, and bottlenose dolphins would pass by my house pretty frequently. So whenever I saw one, I would take a picture for iNaturalist and post it, And my observations were actually used for a monitoring project for bottlenose dolphin populations to understand if they were endangered or not, which made me feel really good that I was helping that way. And also it was fun for me because I was able to keep track of how many times I saw dolphins at my house over time, just for bragging rights, I guess, just for fun. I found it very enriching just as an individual. So, you can also analyze some of the data on iNaturalist. We only give volunteer time at SciStarter in the Verizon program for actually contributing. But if you get really curious, you really can dig into this data, and it's a lot of fun. And there's also a companion app to iNaturalist called Seek. I won't spend too much time on this, but iNaturalist has pioneered some techniques. Like, enough people have contributed photos of nature that they're able to use some machine learning techniques to provide additional help in terms of understanding what an observation is. And this app also, if you have kiddos at home or younger folks in your life, a login isn't required for Seek. A login is required for iNaturalist because they have to verify the observations and things like that. So that's definitely for more adult volunteers. But with Seek, they could just download it and use it as an educational tool to point their camera at whatever species it is and learn about it without logins being required. So Seek is just something I wanted to give a shout out. You can just kind of point your phone at things and it identifies it for you, which I think is good. If anyone has any questions so far, feel free to chime in the chat too. Okay, so I'm going to end the show and we're going to go to the Verizon on SciStarter page and we're going to kind of follow the flow for iNaturalist. So let's find on the page. There it is. There's a video if you want to watch it later to learn a little bit more about what iNaturalist is. And for folks who want step-by-step instructions, I know those always really help me. Those are right there for your knowledge. iNaturalist, the integration's a little different than it was for IC Change. To help us track the number and frequency of your contributions, we ask that you go to your SciStarter dashboard and add your iNaturalist username. So I already have an iNaturalist username. So I'm in my dashboard. I would go to info and settings. And I'd add my iNaturalist username here. And that's how the number and frequency of my contributions will track in my SciStarter dashboard. So if I go here and my joined projects, you can see I've contributed a lot to different affiliate citizen science projects on SciStarter. And we pretty much only feature affiliates in the Verizon program. Anyone can add a project to SciStarter and get volunteers to be involved, but the affiliates really go the extra mile and help people understand things. So I can, for example, for IC Change, I can see my stats. I've contributed 10 times over the past 2 years, which is pretty good, I think. And for iNaturalist, I've contributed, I do a lot of iNaturalist. I've contributed 263 times since 2019. So that's just a fun aside. That's a way you can get your integration set up. Let me go back to the Verizon page. Okay. And if that's confusing at all, you can always come back later and add your iNaturalist username. You could just focus on contributing right now. And then you can go back to your SciStarter dashboards, info and settings, and add your iNaturalist username. And all the instructions are here to help you. So I'd read through this, and then I can go to the iNaturalist website to participate, or I can go directly to the app. So I'm going to go to the website. I'll show you all some of my observations. I'm going to log in. I'll log in with Google because all my stuff's under my Gmail. You guys don't get to do this. You don't get to log in with your Gmails because we want you to use your Verizon email just to make things easier. I'm going to go to my dashboard. And I'm going to show you some of my observations. So as you can see, I love dolphins, and I have contributed to a dolphin sub-investigation on iNaturalist. And as you can see, the global volunteer community has indeed confirmed that this is a bottlenose dolphin, and it's been added to the Mammals of Florida project. And other people, they spend their time as volunteers, people just like you and me, who might be really good at identifying things, and they might be really good at identifying bottlenose dolphins, so they've gone on here and helped identify them. So if I wanted to upload my own observation, I could add some photos here. Let's see, let's do add an observation. I usually use the app. So I can like upload a picture. Let's say I observed this sunflower yesterday, and this is cultivated nature, so you're not really supposed to do that because it was at a farm on my university campus. But they have some suggestions. It is a sunflower, so that's up to the genus level. I could give the date, give the location, add some notes. I'm actually not going to upload this. You can flag it as captive and cultivated, so that's okay. But they really want the uncultivated nature, like the nature that pops up without humans like watering it, tending to it, and all that stuff. And then you can just submit it. And the location was Fifield Hall in Florida, in Gainesville. So I can zoom in to Gainesville, Florida. It was right about here. There's Steinmetz Hall, that's right in the neighborhood. There's Hull Road. It's right about here. Update. I flagged it as cultivated, so I can do it. I can submit it. Oh, I need to add my date. Thank you, iNaturalist, for helping me. I took this yesterday. And then I can submit it. All right, so I'm going to pause here and see if folks have any further questions. Where do you find the link to iNaturalist? So you want to go to the same website, SciStarter. So let's go through the flow one more time. So typically, when we participate in projects through the SciStarter Verizon collaboration, you would start at our community. So let's get back up to our community. Where's the URL of that? So you would go to our community on SciStarter, on the Verizon platform, and all of the different featured projects we have for the collaboration have ongoing events there. But your volunteer time today is already covered by this webinar. So you can just go straight to the link I'm going to put in the chat right now, which is scistarter.org/Verizon. And I'll just throw this slide up on the screen to make it easy for you. So you would go to scistarter.org/Verizon. And you can find the IC Change project on that page. And you can also find the iNaturalist project on that page. And they both have different integrations with SciStarter. For IC Change, if you make your SciStarter account and your IC Change account with the same email, all your contributions track back to SciStarter, no problem. For iNaturalist, you just have to go into your SciStarter dashboard after you make an account and add your username in your dashboard. Can we link the IC Change account to SciStarter? It's automatically linked as long as you use the same email address for both. Someone already uses eBird. Awesome. How do you add your username again? It can get a little complicated, so that's why we have it here. So once your account is created and the iNaturalist app is installed on your mobile device, but before you log in, remember your iNaturalist username, visit My Info and Settings on your SciStarter dashboard, and enter it in the section labeled Affiliation Integration. How do you post iNaturalist? So I just did an observation on my computer. I uploaded a picture I took yesterday, and this was cultivated nature, so it's not really what you're supposed to do per se. But you can just go outside and take a picture of a bird you see or a weed you see growing out of the sidewalk. Any nature that's uncultivated, so not tended to by humans, is preferred. Any species you see, and you help contribute to global population monitoring. iNaturalist and Seek by iNaturalist, so they're two different apps. Seek is a companion app to iNaturalist. It doesn't require logins. They're basically, with Seek, they're using all the iNaturalist data to do some AI and machine learning. So you can just point your phone, your smartphone, at pretty much any plant or animal, and it gives its best guess about what species it is. So it's pulling from the global iNaturalist database into this educational tool. And you can use Seek, you can merge it with iNaturalist to help with observations. But iNaturalist is more research oriented. So they're asking you to be an explorer and go out into the world and take observations and identify them as best you can. You can post cultivated stuff. I posted a cultivated thing right now. You just want to flag it as cultivated. And the global volunteer community will help you. If if you flag something wrong or you don't identify it right, that's why we're crowdsourcing it, so other people can help you identify things. Casual observation. So this is more of a casual observation that I just uploaded for a demo. My more serious observations, I'll direct you to my bottlenose dolphin work, where I would document them outside my house in Indian Harbor Beach. I'm going to pause here and see if folks have any further questions. And if someone's already outside, yes, so this webinar has been live streamed to YouTube this whole time on SciStarter's YouTube channel. I did this in part because a bunch of folks couldn't make it live. I really wanted to give everybody at Verizon a fun way to celebrate Earth Day. So as long as you follow along and participate in these projects by the end of next week, you'll get your 2 hours of volunteer time. So one reason I selected these 2 projects is I wanted you all to go out and get outside today. I want you to, as soon as we, click end on the Zoom event, walk outside your door, describe on IC Change what the weather is like near you. Then monitor species on iNaturalist. You can go on a 1-hour nature walk and just monitor species as you go. Take pictures, identify them as best you can, describe what you're seeing. And by doing that, you'll get an hour of volunteer time, the remainder of the hour of this webinar. So we can go to our slides to kind of close things out. So some general tips for iNaturalist: just add identifications even at the kingdom level if you can. So if you just know it's a plant, just say it's a plant. Manage data quality, watch out for copyright violations. So upload your own pictures. Watch out for inappropriate content. This is more if you're doing an event with doing it with a student or someone else. Just try to be respectful of the global volunteer community, because we're all just trying to understand the world and where different species are. So come into it with that spirit, and I think that's a beautiful way to celebrate Earth Day. So for IC Change, you just you make your account with the same email address you used to make your SciStarter account. And then for iNaturalist, you have to add your iNaturalist username to your SciStarter dashboard after you make it. Your iNaturalist username isn't an email address. You would just input that in your info and settings in SciStarter. So I can show the info and settings again. So you go to your dashboard, you click on your info and settings, and then you put your iNaturalist username in. So I am CH Nickerson. So you identify it as best you can. You can just say it's a plant if you know it's a plant. And then the global volunteer community on iNaturalist will help you take it the rest of your way. Awesome. James said he's going to do his observations at a local park. That'll be you can just stroll around and start photographing nature and uploading it to iNaturalist. That'd be amazing. Before I let you go to go observe things for the rest of the day, for the rest of the hour to get your volunteer time, does anyone have any more questions? What about in your own gardens? That's cultivated nature. You can post it, but it's preferred that you post uncultivated nature, which has not been grown by humans. It's like a weed growing out of the sidewalk, or a wildflower, or a bird, or a butterfly, or whatever you happen to see, or a squirrel. You can post squirrels. And if you, in your own garden though, you could post about IC Change in your garden. I know for me on IC Change, let me go back to IC Change and I'll show you all one of my observations. I used to post pictures of my flowers. I mentioned that to you all, where I would say how they were adapting to the weird temperature changes. Oh, here's a post I did in Miami when I saw some flooding on the sidewalk. I wanted to help them with infrastructure things. So these were my Chinese hibiscus flowers. I noticed that they didn't really know what the weather was. I said temperatures have varied between hot and cold recently the past few days. So I'm seeing yellow leaves alongside beautiful blooms. And this is cultivated nature, right? So I can post this on IC Change because I'm just monitoring climate change through documenting my local weather. So these are 2 separate projects. I thought they complemented each other well. They definitely have different goals. IC Change is honing into weather and climate change, and iNaturalist is honing into biodiversity and species distribution. So definitely post about your own garden when I see change. That would be phenomenal. Explain how the weather's impacting your garden. You attach your iNaturalist username to your SciStarter dashboard in your info and settings. And if any of you get confused, I'll go ahead and let me just put the link again to the SciStarter Verizon page. The instructions are all there if you get confused about where to go to add your username. Someone said, wear your sunscreen and hat. Yes, I got sunburned last weekend too when I was out doing some citizen science. So I really want all of you to avoid getting sunburned as well. You know, if you don't have more questions, you can go ahead and close out this webinar and go outside and start participating in iNaturalist. I mean, the main thing to remember is you can do these projects as often as you like and get Verizon volunteer time. You just need to go to our community and find the ongoing event for both of these projects to get your volunteer time and indicate how much time you're volunteering. So for I See Change, this is the event on Verizon. And then for iNaturalist, this is the event on Verizon. And you can find all of our projects. You can find health projects. You can find astronomy projects. You can find pretty much any type of science and you can get volunteer time for about 25 or so projects at any given point by looking at our ongoing events on our Verizon volunteer community. And if any of you enjoyed today, I'm always happy to join different business units and staff meetings to facilitate these things. So don't hesitate to grab some time on my calendar. I did a smaller version of this morning for a team of about 50 folks from the AI&D division. So always happy to zoom in and come visit. That's not a problem. Yeah, so we can definitely add the direct links. I'll go ahead and add that to the chat. I'll put the community in because I think that's the most useful because you can find all of our stuff. So let's add that. Yeah, I'll definitely so I'm gonna email out after the event. So let's paste. Oh my gosh. Here we go. So that's our community. And don't log your time on this event today because your time's already covered with our two-hour webinar. But if you want to come back to this event and keep participating, you can find it here. And we'll do the same for iNaturalist. And if you want a different project, if you don't want environmental projects are awesome, but we also care a lot about, health. I'll go ahead and throw in the link for the stall catchers project I mentioned at the beginning. Let's add that. This is a completely different project that allows people to monitor Alzheimer's research. And remember, to get your volunteer full 2 hours, I really hope you all spend the rest of this hour outside monitoring different species for iNaturalist and contributing to I See Change. And I hope that if any of you see something particularly interesting, or you just have insights you want to share, please send those my way. You can email those to info@scistarter.org because we did a spotlight on the stall catchers project and the Alzheimer's research, and it was a really heartwarming story from different V-teamers. I would love to do the same thing with the environmental project. So please, please, please email me your stories at info@scistarter.org and I'll spotlight them. And hopefully we can do another Discover Magazine article. I think that'd be really cool because we had people outside of Verizon reading this article on Discover Magazine and getting involved in stall catchers. So Verizon was really able to be a leader to the global volunteer community beyond your company, which I think is pretty cool and would be good to do with the environmental projects too. All right, I'm looking at the chat. I want to see if people have any further questions. If you don't have further questions, hey, hang up the Zoom and get outside. Do some I See Change and do some iNaturalist. Yeah, thanks for being here, everybody. I had a lot of fun. I know what I'll be doing the rest of the day. I'll leave the link to our community up on the screen while people hop off. I'll stick around for a few minutes in case people have more questions. Yes, the deck is going to be emailed to everyone who registered. And you can, you'll find me in the email, but you can also find me at info@scistarter.org. That is my email. And happy Earth Day, everybody. It's the best day of the year. And for those of you who just joined after the revenue call, I'm emailing out, you can find the links to the presentation on youtube.com/SciStarter. We've been live streaming this whole event. And you can also, so you can watch that for the hour and then participate like everyone else is about to go do. Otherwise, I'm sending an email out with all this info, with the slide deck, all that good stuff. So you can also just hang tight for that email too. All right, I'm monitoring the chat to see if folks have further questions. Trevor, I'm not sure about turning off the lights, but I know citizen science is how I tend to celebrate Earth Day, just documenting nature around me to help scientists protect the planet. All right, I'll just stick around to see if folks have more questions. Y'all are great. You're making a huge difference. I appreciate you. All right, last call for questions, everybody. And if there aren't any more, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this email that I can send to everybody who registered. I'm not seeing any more questions, so I think we'll go ahead and close up shop. You all know where to find me. You can email me at info@scistarter.org. Otherwise, get outside.